In this video, I want to provide a critique of a few Cantus Firmi that you submitted for assignment number 10. Let's start with this one. Here it is one more time. It's set in G major, it's 9 notes long. It begins and ends on the same octave of tonic, and there's a single apex on scale degree 6. Let's now focus on the stepwise versus skips and leaps of the melody. Since there are 9 different notes, that means there are 8 pairs of adjacent notes. 4 of them, or 50%, move by step. There are 2 skips of a third, one up and one down. And there are also 2 leaps of a perfect fourth. Both perfect fourth leaps resolve by step in the opposite direction. So we're properly recovering from both of those leaps. Neither of them, however, is prepared by stepwise motion in the opposite direction. The first leap of a perfect fourth is preceded by a step in the same direction. So starting at the very first note. Now this is a weak melodic motion given our current restrictions, but it's okay since it creates a gesture outlining a perfect fifth. But it's still weak. The second leap from pitch 5 to 6, that's the one down a perfect fourth, is preceded by a skip of a third in the opposite direction. Now since this incorporates both a skip and a leap without arpeggiating through a consonant triad, this is an error that we should avoid. So remember, we're only allowed to create consonant triads by combining skips and leaps. Let me play through it one more time, see if you can hear that. Also, since we are skipping to the apex and immediately leaping away, the apex is unsatisfying. It's kind of like on National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation when they cut into that beautiful looking turkey and it practically deflates in front of them.
Catherine, this turkey tastes half as good as it looks. I think we're all in for a very big treat.
Save the neck for me, Clark.
Okay, Eddie.
Look at that.
Sorry.
Why are you crying? Huh?
I told you we put it in too early.
Oh, it's just a little dry. It's fine.
Okay, maybe it's nothing like that, but it's still ineffective. Instead of confidently striding up to the apex, we're tentatively reaching up and tapping it like it's too hot to touch. Also, notice the disjunct quality of the middle 7 notes. Right? It creates a very jagged melodic contour of going up and down and up and down and up and down. Right? So it's very disjunct. All right, here is a second Cantus Firmus. Let me play that one for you a couple of times. Here it is again. It's in E major, it's 11 notes long, it begins and ends on the same tonic. Let's again analyze the stepwise to skip to leap ratio. 11 notes means there's 10 adjacent pairs of notes, and 7 of them are stepwise. and that's mostly stepwise as desired. There aren't any skips of a third that I see, and that's not a problem, and there are 3 leaps. The first and last leap is a perfect fourth, and is balanced with one going up and the other going down. The middle leap is the more dramatic one, right? It leaps up a sixth. None of these leaps are consecutive, but we do need to make sure that they are properly prepared and resolved. The opening leap of a perfect fourth, right? That rising perfect fourth can't be prepared because it's at the very beginning, but it nicely resolves down by step. In fact, the stepwise descent to F sharp fills in the gap created by that perfect fourth leap. But before it returns to the E, we unexpectedly make the dramatic leap up a major sixth, which is nicely prepared and resolves down by step. The final leap down a perfect fourth, it's prepared correctly, but it doesn't resolve itself by step in the opposite direction. Similar to our first example, we have a perfect fourth leap and a step paired and moving together in the same direction. And as I mentioned before, this is a weak but passable melodic gesture because it outlines that perfect fifth. My biggest issue with this Cantus Firmus, like the previous melody, is the apex. While the leap to the apex is perfectly acceptable, what scale degree is this apex? Well, it's the leading tone. It's scale degree 7. So not only do we want a single apex, we can't use the leading tone as the apex. Well, why not? Well, the leading tone creates an expectation to resolve to its tonic, a half step higher. If the leading tone is the apex, that's the highest note. It won't resolve, right? So it leaves us with a sense of irresolution. Let me play it for you again. The apex creates a desire to resolve up, and we should hear that desire to resolve up, and especially that we don't get it. The rules and guidelines for writing a cantus firmus or a counter melody are by design extremely limiting. In the real world of composition, we can break many of these rules, but we must understand the effect of breaking them. Strict adherence to these rules can create melodies that are a little bit like hotel art. It's simple and perhaps beautiful, but it's unlikely to hang in a museum. If I were a film editor wanting to make a scene feel frantic and tense, I would first need to know the principles of making a scene calm. Only then can I effectively and deliberately manipulate the material. In other words, we need a baseline, we need a foundation to create organic, non-intrusive melodies. And then we will be able to add just the right amount of spice to our melodies to make them emotionally powerful. Let me play an example to demonstrate some of this. Here's a phrase with an apex of scale degree 6. So that went up to 6. Let me play it again, but this time I'm going to go up to an apex of 7. And I want you to notice the tension it creates, the desire for resolution. What if I play it again, but this time the leading tone resolves up to 1? So to control the ebb and flow of tonality requires us to know the rules, right? Patricia Stokes has a book that suggests that creativity begins by mastering the pre-existing techniques in a given field and then discovering new ways to expand upon them. So if you don't know how to play by the rules, the game won't be any fun for you or the listener. All right, I think that's enough for this one, and I hope that was useful. Thank you.